Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Liz Wheeler. I host the nightly talk show Tipping Point on One America News. This is my first time in Washington, D.C., believe it or not. So I'm a true Washington outsider, I guess you could say. I grew up in the Midwest in Ohio. So of course, yeah, look at that. So of course, I come from a big Catholic family. 4 of us sisters and 1 brother. And before you groan for my brother, he's doing just fine. He escapes to his tree stand and hunts deer whenever the estrogen in the atmosphere gets too much for him. I'm 26 years old, a former competitive swimmer turned political geek. My dad is a small business owner, so I learned pretty young who's the backbone of the economy in this country, who are the ones creating the jobs. My mom is a computer programmer turned stay-at-home mom, so it was a very entrepreneurial environment that we grew up in, which taught me a few lessons early in my life that helped shape me into the conservative I am today. First lesson, always live below your means. As a small business owner, my dad didn't really have any other option but that. If he doesn't bring in more than he spends, his business goes upside down. So if that applies to individuals, it certainly should apply to the government, right? I graduated from high school at 16 and a half and finished college with a bachelor's degree in 2.5 years. Yeah, unfortunately, you can picture me in high school. I've since discarded the thick-rimmed glasses with the tape around the nose piece. My older sister is a professional ballroom dancer, and my first younger sister is a singer who's appeared on Broadway. During my years in college, I had the honor of serving in local government as the youngest person in our city's history to serve as a commissioner on the Board of Zoning Appeals. And that came with a very rude awakening that government is ridiculous and political, and the hunger for power is rampant no matter what level. Our household was quite competitive growing up, but my parents taught us that our family was a microcosm of capitalism, or really that capitalism is a broader reflection of us as individuals. But for one person to be successful doesn't necessitate that she steals that success from somebody else. In a free market, as in our family, new wealth or different successes can be created. And instead of somebody getting poorer every time somebody else gets richer, when the government allows the market to thrive, it benefits everybody. So why am I telling you all this? Not because I want to talk about myself, not so you think about me or my story specifically. It's not about me. It's about everybody's stories, everybody here. Each of our stories, each of our lives is unique. The goals we set, the priorities we choose, the paths we take to achieve those goals, they're all different. That's what makes the American dream unique to America. Because here in America, we the people are higher on the food chain than the government. We tell the government what to do, not the other way around. Now, on my show, Tipping Point, on One America News, and you all should check it out if you haven't seen it, it's great. The slogan of the show is, if you say something stupid, we'll call you out. This election season, with Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders representing the Democratic Party, let's just say I don't have too much trouble finding stupid to call out. That's our choice this year, you and me, between the American dream, where anything is possible because individual potential is unlimited, and then what the Democrats offer us. Conservatives don't communicate this very well to other people, especially in election years. Instead of standing up at the podiums and saying, this is how Obamacare affects our lives. This is how relinquishing some of our Second Amendment right to bear arms affects your life. This is how raising taxes, even if the welfare programs sound like a good idea, will affect your life. Conservatives forget that most people don't care about those nitty-gritty details or the philosophy behind policies. They just want to know how it's going to affect them. It's almost like we need a translator from conservative political speak to plain English. For instance, when conservative politicians say they want to champion small government, what does that mean? For everyday Americans, it means understanding that minimum wage hikes won't help people after the first couple months because companies won't be able to afford paying them that higher wage. And employees will either lose their jobs, the companies won't hire them in the first place, or the employer will have to shut down altogether. And you know who that affects the most? Young people, my generation, all the millennials sitting here. We're the least experienced in the workplace, and that unfortunately makes us the most expendable. Plus, these costs get passed on to consumers too. And we can't have it both ways. We can't have a $15 an hour minimum wage and a $2 hamburger. When conservative politicians say, give healthcare to the free market, what does that mean? Well, for everyday Americans, it means instead of Obamacare's rules upon rules upon rules telling us what to do about our healthcare and costing us a boatload of money, we can decide if we're young and healthy, we might want an insurance plan that covers less. Or if we know a doctor who we trust, we don't have to worry that he's outside of our network or pay a bunch. We want to choose ourselves to pay for the services we want, and that choice will force the market to price healthcare affordably. Conservative values aren't just for old, grumpy white men. Conservatives aren't homophobic, transphobic, bigoted, hateful, or oppressive. We just don't want government up in our business. That's what Republicans are offering us this year, even if they don't translate it very smoothly into how it affects our daily lives. Policies like lower taxes lets us decide what to do with our money and lets us help those in need, not just with that money, but with our time. A strong national defense, including a secure border, doesn't exclude immigrants from our nation. We are a nation of immigrants, and we're proud of that. But it recognizes the threat of radical Islamic terrorism and the 38,000 ISIS terrorists around the world who want to kill us, and it helps keep those psychos out of our neighborhoods. And it has nothing to do with peaceful Muslims here or anywhere around the world. This is our choice this year. Do we want another president who doesn't believe ISIS is a threat to our nation? Another president who believes citizens don't need to own certain types of weapons? Another president who believes Obamacare is successful? We all know Bernie Sanders would be a disaster as president. Think waiting lines in the DMV, but for everything. Healthcare, permits, taxes, you name it. Plus, Bernie will very politely walk by and snip our paychecks in half. Half for you, half for bloated Uncle Sam. I don't want another president who makes it his mission to bow to foreign leaders, to negotiate with radical regimes, to lose our power in hostage negotiations that encourages other nations to kidnap our citizens, to bloat executive agencies, to attack our Second Amendment rights, to divide our nation with racially charged rhetoric, to ignore veterans' health care when they come back from wars, to lie to us about Obamacare to get it passed, to force Christians to choose between violating their consciences or violating the law. To refuse to secure our border even when the states volunteer to do it themselves. To allow unvetted Syrian refugees into our nation, some of whom want to kill us. Shall I go on? There's a certain candidate in this race. I don't want to be sexist and describe her by gender, so I'll just say this is the only candidate in the race who barks like a dog. Hillary Clinton tells us we should vote for her because she's a woman, shaming young women like myself, young millennial women, for daring to vote for any of the male candidates when she's a woman, for goodness sake. But the reality is, real equality for women isn't promoted by telling us how to vote. It's insulting to my generation, to all the women in this room, it's the most narrow-minded idea in the world that women only care about so-called women's issues. That we're more interested in birth control and man-hating than we are in the threat of ISIS. or an unemployment rate that has been simply terrible for women under Obama, or healthcare costs that are rising even as our choices of doctors is drying up, that our taxes are getting higher and our incomes are getting lower, that college debt is crippling the millennial generation, or that Americans are on the brink of losing their liberty. That's the picture Democrats are offering us. Deeper and deeper debt, maintaining the illusion as long as they can that they're taking care of us, when in reality, all they'd be doing is ushering us into dependence. Does that sound like the American dream to you? No, me either. What that sounds like is big government-loving, liberty-squashing, agenda-ridden liberal politicians who care more about lining their own pockets and purses, who will not respect the rule of law when it interferes with their policies, and who won't hesitate to exploit racial divide to exact their own progressive liberal agendas. This is our chance. Conservatives, Republicans, independents, Democrats who care more about their day-to-day lives than they care about shady politicians. This is our chance to save America from a future much different than the past we've lived and the future we're living right now. This is our chance to have a backbone, to pray to God for the strength and the eloquence to communicate our conservative values and the courage to fight for what we know is right, no matter what names our opponents call us. To elect a president of the United States who will respect the Constitution and the very fabric of our lives in America. This is our responsibility, it's our duty, and it's our honor, because it's our country. God bless you, and God bless America.